The other topics is really interesting and most debated things in the hypertrophy is the training muscle in lengthened position. And I noticed you in your recently posting on Instagram, you train all of the muscle in lengthened position. The assumption and the hypothesis, you know.
Did you want to repeat?
I forget to translate the version. بچه پرسیدم که یکی از موضوعات خیلی جذاب این روزهای هایپرتروفی اینه که من عضله رو توی طول بلند شدن تمرین بدم. مثلا قدیم میگفتن توی فول رنج آف موشن اگه تمرین بدی بهتره، اما داره کم کم مثل یه اتفاقاتی میفته، اما نه در همه عضلات.
Yeah. The first time I saw this topic come up was in a literature review. I think it was a meta-analysis by Gurgic that was on range of motion. And they found that overall, full range of motion was better than partial range of motion. But they noticed that these findings were not always the case, that sometimes when the partial range of motion included training at a lengthened position, that there weren't always significant differences between groups. So they hypothesized that maybe the reason why full range of motion training is better than partial range of motion training is that it includes the range of motion where the muscle is most lengthened and tension is higher, not necessarily just because you have a larger displacement or a number of degrees of rotation about a joint. So for anyone who's not familiar with this concept, if you think about doing a half squat, just the top part of the squat not going all the way down, that gets typically outperformed by squatting all the way down. You see greater glute and quadricep hypertrophy from doing full range of motion squats versus partial range of motion squats. However, if you were to compare a study on, say, bicep curls or tricep extensions, which has been done, where you do only the bottom portion of the curl or the first portion of a tricep pushdown versus full range of motion, you typically see similar or even greater results for the group that is doing that initial portion where the muscle is elongated. And the difference is that when you only do a half squat, you're not going deep enough to get the glutes and quadriceps stretched. However, when you're in the bottom portion or the initial portion of a bicep curl or tricep pushdown respectively, as an example, that muscle is in a lengthened position. So there are two different types of partials.
Can you generalize the findings of the topics to all muscle groups?
That's a good question. Do you want to say it in Farsi?
میتونیم که you say Farsi really interesting, you know. Farsi is yeah.
Most likely. The initial studies were on the quadriceps. There was a study by Pedrosa that did different portions of a leg extension and found that the group doing the bottom portion did seem to get better hypertrophy. So quadriceps, we have data. There's also a study by Kubo and colleagues comparing half squats to full squats. So both the glutes and the hamstrings, both the glutes and the quadriceps responded there. And then also Mao and colleagues, they've compared seated hamstring curls versus lying hamstring curls. Seated hamstring curls, the muscle in is a more stretched position, so it's in a lengthened position. The hamstrings seem to respond better. And then we also have some data by Sato on the biceps. So right now we have the entire lower body, and there's actually there's some being peer-reviewed data on the glutes, more data on the glutes. So we have glutes, hamstrings, quads, biceps, and triceps data. And it's difficult to measure other muscle groups in research, but right now it's looking very good.